Hey, this is Mr. C. Thanks for tuning in to your video lesson of 2.1, using variables to write expressions. Once you're done writing your name, date, and title underlined, please go on to the next slide. Please pause it right now if you need to. All right, so I see in the top right corner vocab notes, which means that these are going to be in my vocab notes. I try to help by putting that up there. All right, there are two specific vocab terms that you need to have, which are variable and algebraic expression. I tried to help you understand which is which by using arrows with specific colors. You can do the same thing in your notes if you'd like, but you will need to have these two words, their definitions, and this central picture right here. Pause the video right now. All right, we are now moving on to the next part. What you just put here, this. You should have received something that looks like this. Also, you are receiving another thing to help you that you're going to tape underneath. So you're going to tape this below. And these are just words that you will see in problems that help you know whether you should subtract, whether you should add, whether you should multiply, or whether you should divide. And if you ever don't know, you can go and look at this list, and it should help you understand what it's asking you to do. There's also one more that I gave you, and you will tape those into the vocab section. I could have, and I was going to have you write these, but I felt kind, and so I thought to myself, maybe I should print that. Maybe that would make them feel good. So that's how I decided to bless you today, by printing this off instead of having you write it all. And it also saves you time. After you're done taping this, and also the other thing that I gave you into your notes, please unpause the video. See if that's actually on this list. All right, it's not. Below this, that's in your notes, I'm looking at subtraction, and I see the word difference. I know that I'm going to subtract. Okay, so here is the first problem. I see nothing written in the top right, so this means this is not written. This is just Mr. C's going through it. All right, let's read this up here. Using variables to write expressions. How can you write an algebraic expression? So that's what we're going to solve today. How can you write an algebraic expression? That's what this whole lesson is centered around. Donnie bought CDs for $10 each. How can you represent the total cost of the CDs? All right, just for a second, I want to go back and but what I noticed was the word each here. That's telling me what to do. And you can actually add this to your list once we find out what each means. All right, a variable, and you should already have this in your notes, a variable is a quantity that can change or vary and is often represented by a letter. Variables help you translate word phrases into algebraic expressions. So then we're asking ourselves, what is an algebraic expression? Because we're learning that today. I want you to look at the beginning of variable. It has V-A-R-I. And if you look over here, V-A-R-I is the same thing in word terms, the meaning, as V-A-R-Y. So if I use this in a sentence, I could say, my clothes can vary day to day, which we know what that means. That means to change. So basically, the word variable is just a word that they came up with that means that it can change. That's why it has vary here. It's able to change. And so we often represent that by a letter, and whatever letter that may be, just whatever makes the most sense at the time. All right. So I see now, it says CDs cost $10 each. The operation is multiplication. So if we didn't have the word each in that chart, you can add that now, because most of the time when you see each, it means that you need to multiply. And you're going to see it a lot, actually. They like to put that in the word problems. So they made a chart to help us out. And no, you don't have to have this written because, again, I don't have example up here. Number of CDs, 1. Well, they're 10 times 1. That's how many there are. 10 times 2, number of CDs, and so on. They make this chart of how much it would cost. And then so we need to use the variable n to represent the number of CDs and write an algebraic expression. I talked about using a variable which can change, and whatever makes the most sense. They picked n, and I'm wondering, why did they pick n? Well, look right here, and n is the first number of number of CDs. 10 times the number of CDs. 10 times the number of CDs. So that's how I read that. Another variable you could use would be 10 times C. For CDs, it really doesn't matter. They just picked one. Any other letter would not be wrong. So what is an algebraic expression? It's a mathematical phrase that has at least one variable, and this time it has an n, so that makes it an algebraic expression, and one operation, and the operation this time is multiply. The total cost of the CDs is represented by 10 times n, and if we want to write that like a pro, we just put it right next to each other. Whenever a variable is right next to a number, that means to multiply. I want you to look very closely at this and notice how an expression does not have an equal sign. It's just 10n. That's an algebraic expression, and they wanted you to write one to represent how Donna bought CDs for 10 each. All right, let's go to the next example. This problem. All right, example 1. I know that means that this needs to be written. And you should have already glued this in your chart in the vocab notes. So you should have this already in your notes, and below this is going to be example 1. And I have actually 2 problems here. I have 1 and I have 2. And I'm going to do those, and you're going to copy those in your notes. And again, I was feeling kind, so you don't actually have to write this, you just glue it. And this chart's going to be incredibly helpful. And if ever you want to know what more than means, or where I put the number, and how I read it, you can look at this and it will really help you learn more than just me repeating it to you. So I'm looking here at number 1, 11 times the number z. Let's go back up to this chart and see if there's anything like that. All right, 5 times a distance d. That's like the same thing. All right, how did they write that? All right, they wrote 5 times d or 5d. Okay, so I'm going to try to do the same thing. 11 times, all right, 11 times a number z. And if I want to write that like a pro, 11z. In high school, middle school, this is what's required, and so we're going to require that same thing. We don't need the multiplication sign in the middle. All right, so 4 less than 5 times the number g. All right, let's look up to this chart, and let's see if they have something like that. All right, I see it. 5 less than 3 times an amount x. All right, let's see how they wrote that. Oh, that's interesting. It's 5 less, but they put the minus 5 at the back. So that means when they have the words less than in a problem, it means subtract, but it means to put it at the end of a problem. Interesting. So I'm going to need to remember that. 5 less than 3 times an amount x. And this is 3 times an amount, which is x. Okay. 4 less than 5 times the number g. I know that I'm going to do 4 less at the end. I know that times means multiply. And I'm going to put g here. Okay, 5 times a number g, and this is read as less 4, or 4 less than. And if I want to do it like a pro, which I'm going to need to, then I'm going to do 5g minus 4. Please pause the video if you don't have this written. We're going to go on to example number 2. The chart that we used last time, you can use this as much as you want to the chart. Alright, you're going to try your best to do this by yourself using the resources that I've given you, which is the words that tell you whether to add or subtract or multiply or divide, and then to accomplish these 2 example 2 problems. Remember to put lines between each example after you are done. Please pause the video now and try this by yourself, and then unpause the video and see how I did it. Alright, so the problem, these are the answers that you should have, but let's talk about why that is. Okay, the difference of a number t and 22. The difference, well, I know the difference, but the question is, where is the subtraction? Well, the difference of a number t and 22. So I am subtracting t and 22. So t minus 22. I had 12 for some reason. Man, that's ridiculous. Okay. This one I thought was really easy because it's just in order. M bicycles added, if I look at the chart, and I think most of you don't need to look at the chart for that one, added to 18 bicycles. I know that it's add. M added to 18 bicycles. Alright, so now I want you to go to page 33 in your books, numbers 8 through 13, 15, and 16. You can do this by yourself, or you can work with partners All right, when you're ready for the answers, please unpause the video, but please pause the video now and try to do it by yourself or with your partner. Now, page 33, numbers 8 through 13, 15, and 16. Here are your answers for 16. Please pause the video to check these now. Thank you so much for watching this video, and when you are done, Mr. C has already told you what to do. You are awesome. Did you know that? You learned something really cool today.